All right, here we go. Second part of Unit 2. So, week 2 of Unit 2, which I guess if I do my math is week 4 of the course. We're moving right along here, and I'm getting really great questions from you. We are overcoming some adversities with just the general nature of computers and programs that sometimes are glitchy and that kind of thing. If you're ever struggling, don't struggle long. Give a shout. You can use my phone number. You can use my capital email. You can use the question board in this course. Just make sure that you're reaching out and communicating so that I can help you. We are climbing into week 2 of this role of the teacher extension and then the structuring of the writing classroom. And we're playing around with this idea of workshops that we started last week. We read a lot of Atwell last week, and this week I have us mostly reading online. It's a little bit lighter reading week. You may want to use last week was a little lighter reading week. You may want to use this time to go back and reread some of the first unit's materials just to make sure you got a firm foundation in where we're going and where the Atwell text is taking us, because we are going to kind of sell out on writing workshops. I'm going to ask that you design your writing lessons to be writing workshops. And here's what I mean. We are going to be focusing on the wiki this week. How I mentioned this before, but I think it bears repeating, that the first week of each unit is going to be kind of like a research and fleshing out ideas time. The second week, I want us to do some more reflection and planning. And so this second week here, I'd like you to reply to the discussion boards, reply to the blog, and then go ahead and start. This is a big project this week, and this is why I don't dump the readings on the second week. I would start your second wiki. Okay, a side note, I do have all but a few of the wikis graded at this point. Everything should be caught up, your grades should be caught up, except, like I said, I have a few straggling wikis out there that I'm going to try to gather up this afternoon even. And remember, this blog is green because it is going to go into your final wiki, so that's to remind you of that for later. Right now, I want to take a little bit of time to just kind of look through this explanation right here and make sure that we're all on the same page with what the second page of your wiki or what the second submission of your wiki is going to be. Eventually, we're going to roll all of your weeks of wikis into one portfolio, and I have it set up. The way I have it set up is because of the way the gradebook works with the wiki, so that's why they're set up so separately, so that I can give you an individual wiki page grade for each wiki item. So my apologies if that's a little bit cumbersome, because at the end you're going to export them all into one, but I think it will work. Okay, so what are we doing for this week? This week is really important because it's going to lay the foundation. You're not going to be stuck with what you create this week, but if you really delve into it this week, you're going to save yourself some time later. So I'm not saying you can't edit out of this later, but try to be pretty sold on it this week so you can just continue to build instead of going back and reworking it. What are we doing? We're going to create 4 writing tasks. I'm purposefully not naming them as prompts or activities, but that's generally what I'm looking at. Maybe lessons, but lessons to me has a different connotation. I want maybe you want to think of them as writing units, but at the same time, I don't love that because all 4 of these tasks could be in one master unit. Eventually, what we're going to do is build on these and build on these and build on these until we have them refined. So think of this as where your starting point is. What I would like you to do is create 4. I'm going to use my word tasks, writing tasks that are written in student language. So if you're working with a 3rd grader, it's going to sound different than if you're working with a 12th grader, and that's okay. So what's the assignment going to be to the student? Then what I would like you to do is annotate with rationale. In other words, kind of the teacher notes part of this, or the part to, because we're going to share these wikis out, and then also notes to yourself. How you're going to keep each of these particular tasks engaging for the student, and how they're going to kind of help set the classroom tone. Maybe if one of your writing tasks is a get to know you task, how that's going to play into it. How will this writing prompt help to build and sustain the class goals that you've already set? If you've said you want this to be a relational class, is the task that you're having them do going to help you to continue those goals, those classroom climate goals? So we're kind of trying to build on that idea. And you had some learning goals in there as well, things that you want to see happen in the class. How are you going to set your students up for success in reaching those goals, in maintaining your class climate, by how you design your prompt, and give some rationale for each task. Second, and you might want to chart this. If you want to turn this into a charting activity, that's fine. The second thing I want you to explain is how the lesson's going to be structured at a macro level. Like, is this going to be we're going to work a station rotation model. After I do a mini lesson each day, students are going to be decentralized? Or is this going to be, is part of this going to be out of class, part of it in class? I want you to start thinking of how this is going to look in your classroom, and you're thinking again at a specific level. So if it's a second grade prompt, you are going to, and if you want to mix and match grades, for those of you who have a whole range of grades, that's fine if you want to do that, or you can stick with one. Either way is fine with me. But how do you, at the big picture, how do you envision this particular task playing out as you use it? And these tasks are going to lay the foundation for the bulk of your wiki. If you want to go through and look ahead and see where we're going with this, you may, but really focusing on 4 well-written tasks that consider your overall goals that you want to achieve, as well as how you want to structure your classroom, is going to be very significant, and you can edit later so you're not stuck. You may use, I gave you a ton of different prompt ideas from some different sites, and you may use those. In fact, if you want to look ahead at some of the other sites, you're welcome to. There's different prompt ideas in some of the next chunks readings, and you are welcome to kind of read ahead at some of those to see if something works well for you in helping to create a prompt. So you don't have to come up with a completely original one, but would you make it yours in some way? Don't just copy off all the things that we're teachers, right? We know how to write our stuff. So maybe look at some resources and be inspired by them, but don't feel like you have to fall into them. Maybe it's something you've seen work when you're doing some observations with other teachers. Maybe as a student there was an assignment that worked for you. All of these things are things to be considered. And if you watch the weekly video, Michelle Miranda talks about a multi-genre project, and you could break like a multi-genre project down into 4 writing tasks that build into the project, if you want to think of it that way. So just to kind of back up, you're creating 4 writing tasks, assignments, or whatnot that we're going to build on later. They can feed all in together, or they can be 4 separate standalone things that have other components that you'll build around them. I don't care how detailed you want to go with this at this point. We'll detail it in later. But I want you to kind of have a vision. We're looking at the big picture right now, so we can pull it all together later. Have a great week, and this is a little bit complex. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to take risks with your own writing as you write these prompts.